to The Natural View. I'm Maggie Jaqua. I'm the content director of WholeFoods magazine. And I'm here as always with Todd Pauli of 24 Stories Marketing. Hi, Todd.
Hi, Maggie. Good to be with you again.
Good to be with you too. And we have a special guest today. Please welcome Dr. Anurag Pande. He's the Vice President of Scientific Affairs at Sabinsa. Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you, Maggie. Good morning, Todd.
Morning.
Well, we're excited because we're going to hear about some of the innovations at Sabinsa. There's always something new coming out of Sabinsa. You have several things going on. Can you tell us about some of the latest?
Yes, definitely. Sabinsa is a research-oriented company, and it has a very proactive innovation platform that gives us the first mover advantage in this industry. So you'll see a lot of new ingredients coming from Sabinsa all the time. In fact, in last 2 years, because of the pandemic, a lot of things slowed down in several industries. But the fact that innovation at Sabinsa actually sped up, and instead of one or just one product, we actually launched 6 new products this year. So yes, the innovation platform is really speeding up. We launched Nigellin, Sebroxy, which is Oroxylum indicum extract for cognitive health, Immunospore, new inactivated bacteria formulation, Live Longer for liver health, and CurCousin, which is the latest offering from Sabinsa.
Great. So let's talk a little bit more about CurCousin. Can you walk through some of the benefits, maybe a little bit about why you decided to innovate in that area and some of the product benefits that came out of that innovation process?
Yes, definitely, Todd. One of the things which we look while putting a product in the market, or let's say innovate the product, is that if it fills a gap in the market, and that is very important. If it makes a certain I would say certain functionality which is missing in the dietary supplement, it even is more beneficial. So we do find that there is a gap in the market in understanding of how to manage the metabolism. So let me walk you through the CurCousin itself. CurCousin is a 99% pure Calebin A compound. It's a brand name of Calebin A. This compound is pretty new in the market. In fact, Sabinsa is the first company to launch the Calebin A based product. Calebin A is a compound which occurs naturally in few species of turmeric, like Curcuma cassia, Curcuma longa, which we use in our daily food, as a curry powder. Calebin occurs along with curcumin, which is the active compound in the turmeric, but it occurs in a very small quantity, very minuscule quantity. So if I can draw a comparison, curcumin is perhaps 3 to 5% in a good turmeric root itself, in a root powder, but Calebin is a minute compound, so it occurs in almost 0.01%. Weight by weight average. So to isolate the compound from the natural source becomes a big challenge commercially. So we happen to engineer this compound in our lab and produce it synthetically in a 99% purity. So that is what we get as new extract in CurCousin.
Okay, great. And what are some of the product benefits that came out of the product?
Right. The main key benefits of CurCousin actually includes the management of metabolism. Now, this is something which is
what does that mean, managing metabolism?
See, metabolism in the simplistic manner is basically the several chemical reactions which occur in our body, which sustain the life and the processes and functionality. In other words, you can say metabolism relates to a process where the food is converted into energy. And then that energy is either used in performing different functions or is stored in the body as a reserve. And you have various reserves in the body. Fat is one of them. So you find the metabolism is essential part of life. Now, body, everyone does not have the same amount of metabolism. And with the age, the metabolism also slows down. It also matters one more thing which matters is the environment. There are a lot of factors which affect the metabolism. For example, age, our lifestyle, our food, stress, sleep or lack of sleep, for example. These things affect metabolism in a broad sense. And when you see people trying to lose weight, for example, and they are not able to burn enough calories, it's because of their slow metabolism. So metabolism often is a key factor in someone's health. Now, usually metabolism over the time, since we mentioned those factors which affect the metabolism, often disbalances this process. And once the metabolism is imbalanced, we see chronic health conditions coming up. For example, hyperglycemia, elevated blood sugar level, for example, increase in triglyceride levels, or hyperlipidemia, or overall lipid profile increases, gets elevated. You'll find waistline increasing, which is visceral fat increasing. You'll also find hypertensive, tendencies in people. So if we take this cluster of, health conditions together, this is what you call as metabolic syndrome. So an imbalanced metabolism over the years can lead into, a condition like metabolic syndrome. And that when that condition reaches, it's hard to actually get back that balance. Okay. So CurCousin is basically related with how you actually improve or balance your metabolism. So that is an important fact. It's not related with just the weight management. It is overall metabolism in that aspect. But there are some other key benefits of CurCousin. So when we look at curcumin and Calebin, which is the the source compound, they have a very much similarity in their structure. If curcumin it contains diketo structure, here in Calebin is a keto ester compound. So structurally they are very similar, and they also have a lot of similar pharmacological activities. But when we look at the activity of CurCousin, we find it has much more to offer in area of metabolism, weight management, for example. That is actually a major discussion point. It also has improved meta-inflammation. Now I call this inflammation related with metabolic activities or metabolic tissues. So we tend to look at inflammation in a different way, but you also have a meta-inflammation in the body, which is where the obesity comes in. We have seen that it helps to improve conditions related with lower bone density, which in later stage can also cause osteoporosis. And last but not the least, the microbiome. So CurCousin also has shown benefits in improving the microbiome diversity. So that all, or in other words, dysbiosis. So in that all, it actually has a gamut of health benefits which are related with CurCousin.
It's interesting. It's hitting on so many of the benefits that people need. And I want to touch more on some of those, including the microbiome. But let's start with the weight management, because obesity is just such a huge issue in the US and globally, and just continues to increase in its prevalence. And as we've seen over the last few years, especially, it's so important to maintain a healthy weight. So obviously there's lots of options that people can find out there on the market. So what makes this different? I mean, obviously these additional benefits are huge, but what makes it different from other things that we see out there?
Right, that's a very good question, Maggie. You see, weight management, basically, if you see products in the market, they basically focus on appetite suppression. or increasing the burning rate of the fat. Now, when you look at appetite suppression, you're basically focusing fat cells as a storage units. So what you want to do is basically reduce the calorie intake so that you don't have excess calories to store more as a fat. Products which take burning of the fat, they're basically trying to increase the metabolic rate so that you tend to increase the dependence on your fat storage for your energy level. In both cases, people who have, let's say, slow metabolism, where the rate of burning of calories is low. So even though you are trying to reduce your diet, which is what appetite suppressants do, you're not burning enough calories from your fat reserves. So you're not losing weight the way often people do. So that's one difference which we also we always see in people, in certain people who want to lose weight, but they won't be able to lose because even at the diet, reduction in calories doesn't help much. Appetite suppressants do not actually work in a long-term weight management process. Now, what CurCousin does and how it is different is CurCousin, when we formulated CurCousin, we don't look fat cells as a storage unit. We take them as an endocrine organ. So as an endocrine organ, fat cells also produce certain hormones. We call them adipokines. Now, there are certain hormones like leptin, which actually improve, or rather say, they reduce the hunger. They are basically the hunger suppressing, hormone. There is another hormone called adiponectin, which is important for burning of the, the excess fat or improving the insulin, sensitivity. So unless you take these factors, which are very important for management of your metabolic activity, weight management cannot be considered as a long, as a goal which you can, consider for a long term. So people tend to, use appetite suppressant to reduce, intake of calories, but this doesn't work in the long-term goals. So when we take CurCousin actually does not work as an appetite suppressant, but it actually works on the very hormone which actually works as an appetite suppressant. So you are making your body metabolically adapting to lose the weight. So, in some way you can say CurCousin is different because it is now helping your body to metabolically adapt itself to lose weight. So that's where the major difference happens. CurCousin also has got good anti-inflammatory activity. And as I mentioned, you have, you like a systemic inflammation or local inflammation, which is related with the joint health, but you're not looking at the meta-inflammation. Meta-inflammation is something which happens in metabolic organs. Fat cells are one of them. And so if you see the science behind the obesity is related with inflammation. Inflammation also causes the obesity, and obesity when it happens, it also increases the inflammation. So you have to look into reducing that aspect in the metabolic tissue. So a reduction in inflammation also helps to overcome the obesity or the tendency to gain fat. So there are these differences in the way CurCousin actually focuses on management of metabolism or management of weight.
Interesting. So Dr. Pande, you mentioned leptin earlier in your comments, and I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about what leptin resistance is and why it's something we should be concerned about.
Right. It's actually a lesser known, or let's say lesser discussed point when, weight management comes in. Leptin resistance can be defined as a reduced sensitivity of failure of response of brain towards the increased leptin levels. So as I mentioned, leptin is a hunger suppressing hormone. So and it is produced by the fat cells. So let's say this way, when you have production of leptin, it basically tells the brain to stop eating, or stop the intake of food. So as your fat cell increase, as you tend to gain fat, in your number of fat cells increase, your leptin also increases. And body and the brain gets this this cue that it's a time to stop eating, but at certain level, brain is not able to find the sensitivity towards the increased level of leptin. So although the leptin level keeps on increasing, which means fat cells are trying to communicate to your brain that it's time to stop eating, but your brain is not able to perceive that increased level. So your tendency to midnight snacking does not stop. So you are gaining weight, but you're still accumulating more calories, because you're not able to perceive that signal from leptin increase that it's time to lose the weight. So what CurCousin does here is CurCousin brings down the leptin level to normalized level, so that your brain can, in early stage of tendency to increase the weight, brain is able to perceive that increase in leptin and able to adapt itself to reduce the the tendency to for midnight snacking or overeating, or what you call as hyperphagia.
Can you tell us about, I know you've done clinical studies, so you've seen these results, really play out. Can you tell us about some of the research behind it?
Right. We actually, prior to the clinical study, we went into cell-based study to see that, CurCousin actually helps to reduce the activation of, or rather say, maturation of fat cells. So that's one good point. We looked into the preclinical studies, and we looked at the leptin levels, the adiponectin levels, TNF alpha, which is the inflammatory molecule. So we looked at certain markers in our preclinical, and those markers, once we were able to identify these are the major metabolic markers which we need to focus on, we went into the clinical side of the of the study. And in the clinical study, we actually took 40 subjects. It was a double-blind placebo-controlled study for 90 days. We gave 25 milligram twice a day CurCousin, and we monitored their metabolic parameters, like, as I mentioned, your leptin levels, your adiponectin levels, the TNF alpha. We also looked into lipid profile, and we find that in terms of lipid profile, there was a very good improvement in the HDL level. There was a reduction in LDL, that is the low density cholesterol, the bad cholesterol, what we say. Overall, the lipid profile was improved. When we look into the leptin levels were reduced. We find the adiponectin levels, which helps in metabolizing the fat, they were improved. So you are now burning more fat. We find that inflammatory levels were going down, which also shows that it improves the tendency to reduce the obesity related with the to reduce the inflammation related with the obesity. So those factors were something which we confirmed in our clinical study, and we came up with the clinical dosage of 25 milligram twice a day as an effective dosage for healthy metabolism and weight management.
Also, I'm curious about the timeline on it, because people get stuck. I used to work for a women's magazine, and we would write about diets all the time. Every week was a new diet. And people get stuck in these diet traps, and they lose the weight. They really work hard, they lose the weight, but they're not resetting. They're not dealing with the leptin's resistance and these other things you've talked about. So the weight comes back on. They're in these diet traps. How long did the study go? And what, if you have a sense of what are the long-term, so you're taking this at that dose, how long are you taking it? And then is it something that you're taking long-term, or you've done a reset? How does that work?
CurCousin's purpose is to basically balance your metabolism. So depending upon subjects, we normally have taken obese or highly overweight subjects to see if it makes the difference in their, in their health. So when you take subjects which have really high leptin levels, it takes time to reduce them. But CurCousin actually has shown the benefits. So when we looked at their metabolic profile, the improvement starts showing in the first phase of the study, and it kept on, improving throughout the study. So we looked at every 30 days, trial. And so from the initial stage itself, we started finding the trends in that area, that, leptin levels started reducing. The weight itself started showing, reduction. So when it, to a question that, how long it takes, or if it's a long-term, goal, when you are able to control your metabolism, that is where you are actually in position to lose weight. And weight loss should not be a short-term goal. It should always be, in a span which keeps the losing weight as a healthy process. And so CurCousin actually helps that. The fact that you're not trying to reduce the appetite, trying to not deliberately take less calories, but trying to adapt your body to take less calories. That is the fact. That is where the difference comes. Whether you want to lose the weight in a healthy manner, or you're just trying to lose the weight in short term, but in long term, you actually gain more weight by that way. So CurCousin helps in balancing, improving your metabolic profile, and that is where the key lies in losing the weight or gaining the healthy body weight.
All right, so we've talked a lot about not only metabolic health, but additional benefits of CurCousin. Could you talk a little bit more specifically about some of those benefits as they relate to the microbiome?
Yeah, definitely. See, one of the things which we see in recent times, that microbiome actually has a major role to play in the management of health. And this goes beyond the gut health. See, the role of microbiome is actually now, when we have better understanding now that there is a gut-brain axis, there is a gut-brain muscle axis. So you're seeing the role of microbiome in cognitive processes. You are seeing the role of microbiome in overall, athletic, your function. You're also seeing the role of microbiome in weight management, immune health. So in that way, it made more sense for us to look into the role of microbiome while studying CurCousin. It also made more sense because we already have looked at the role of microbiome when you supplement curcumin. And curcumin, has been studied. C3 complex and bioprint combination was studied for change in the microbiome. Today, our understanding on microbiome is such that we understand when you improve the microbiome, or let's say improve the diversity in the microbiome, you see those health benefits. We studied those health benefits when it came to curcumin. So obviously the next choice was to see if those health benefits which we look for CurCousin, like improving in metabolism or weight management, does the microbiome also gets affected? Or the effect of effect of CurCousin actually is translated through those microbiomes. So yes, we looked into it, and the preliminary studies which we found that there is improvement in the diversity of microbiome, and that means or opens a new door into next stage studies to look how that change in microbiome can actually lead to more additional benefits, or can actually expand the area in which CurCousin works. So CurCousin has shown improvement in weight management because of its effect on the microbiome. CurCousin also has shown improvement in meta-inflammation conditions. So it helps to improve the metabolic health because of its effect on the inflammation part. So yes, there is a lot of interplay between the microbiome, the weight management, the metabolic health, and the additional benefits which we have from CurCousin.
So you
Great.
mentioned avenues for more research. I'm wondering if Sabinsa has more research planned?
Yes, actually, some of the studies are already going on, and that actually are something where we are looking into these additional aspects of CurCousin. See, when we started the work on CurCousin, the metabolic health, of course, took the primary, focus. But when you start expanding into that area, you also look at potential pharmacological benefits which you can actually obtain. If if I give an analogy, curcumin initially was thought to be good for certain liver health or joint health. But if you see curcumin today, you see it has a gamut of health benefits. Cognitive health, it has benefits in even the gut health, in joint health, inflammation of various nature, systemic or localized. So you tend to see the same thing happening with CurCousin. The Calebin A is now studied for lower bone density, something which is a new area for anything related with curcumin. So you're basically trying to say that CurCousin actually can help in maintaining the bone health. You see, the bone is also a living tissue. It's not something which doesn't grow. It actually grows. There are cells which produce the bone cells, and there are cells which actually break down the old cells. So if you don't have the balance between the cells, the osteoblasts which produce those bone cells, and osteoclasts which break down those cells, you may have a porous bone health. Your bones will not be as having those strength which it should have. So to balance that process, you have to look into its let's say inflammatory profile. So CurCousin helps in that. That's an additional health benefit which people get. Inflammation, as I mentioned, meta-inflammation and systemic inflammation or joint health, they all have shown effect. So in preliminary studies, CurCousin has shown that it improves the meta-inflammation conditions, which happens in your metabolic organs, which actually translates back into improving your metabolic balance and your weight management, but also helps in conditions like joint health, because it has same tendency as curcumin to reduce the TNF alpha and other inflammatory cytokines.
So you've made it very clear there are a myriad of benefits for, or potential benefits for CurCousin, right? And that leads me to the question about formulation. With all of these benefits, how do you approach formulation? How are you talking to your partners about where this ingredient fits in and where you see the most potential there?
Right. The dosage of CurCousin is actually pretty modest, 25 milligrams, which is twice a day. So you think this way that, and we brought CurCousin as a self-affirmed GRAS. So now you have flexibility to go beyond the solid dosages. We have partners who are interested to put this in a more innovative format. So products like gummies, for example, it's a very good heat stable compound and has a good profile. It doesn't have its own taste itself, so it's very bland in nature. So it can easily get into formulations where you can actually have which matters in a taste profile. So chewables, gummies, liquids, tablets and capsules are already things which we have well established. We have done stability studies to see long-term stability study. It has a very good safety profile. When it comes to weight management, if you see average consumer sometimes wants to step out of the hard formulations like capsules and tablets. So CurCousin actually gives us flexibility in doing that, because of, first, it's a self-affirmed GRAS. Second, it has a very good stability profile in different format. So you have opportunity to actually go in various formulations with CurCousin which are well known in in weight management category, or improving in metabolism.
Great. Well, do you have any final takeaways, any final thoughts or bits of information you'd like to share with the audience?
Yeah, I think one of the key point which I would reiterate is what we learned in this whole studies of CurCousin is the fat cells are not a storage units. So you actually have to understand their endocrinal function. And when you look at the weight management or losing weight in short time or long time, you should look at you should consider its endocrinal nature, and try to get the metabolic balance back in the system. So it's not about reducing calories, it's about improving your metabolism. So once you understand the role of metabolism in your body, you are able and you are able to balance them. That's where you find all the benefits of losing weight, or adapting to or having the metabolic adaptation for healthy body weight.
Excellent. Well, thank you. I know people who want more information can get it on Sabinsa's website. And also, I hope that, as more research comes out, keep us posted at WholeFoods Magazine, and we will share the news. And it's been great talking to you. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much.
You.